Hey everybody, it's that time of the year again, and I just want to say Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year to you all. So yeah, I'm going to be doing this Christmas update video for you, as I do have a few things I want to talk about, and this is kind of a part 2 of my Super Famicom collection, because there are about 15 games that I managed to pick up that I will share with you all. Well, 14, as 2 of them are the same game, but they're different versions. But anyway, let's get on with the updates first. First off, you're probably wondering, where is the Final Fantasy Retrospective Episode 3 that covers both Final Fantasy IV and Final Fantasy V? Well, truth be told, during this holiday season, my life with working and all that stuff has taken full priority, and it's been really hard for me to try to get up that episode for you all around Christmas time. But don't worry, it's still on track, and I plan to have that out in January. I'm aiming for a January release, so hopefully that goes smoothly for me, as I don't want to disappoint you all with the episode that I'm about to bring to you all. And I think it's probably my best by far, but with every one of them, they usually are better than the other when you take a look at the progression you make. You know what I mean? I mean, it's kind of like leveling up in an RPG. And hey, Final Fantasy is an RPG. So anyway, that's update number 1. Number 2, I still have content on the Game Riffers channel. I will put a link in the descriptions for you guys to go see the content that we are doing. We're still doing the Riff Table Arcades. I did one with Fighter Chaos on the recent Final Fantasy VII Remake that's been announced, as well as the PlayStation Experience trailer that came out, as well as the information that came about from that afterwards, to what we can expect from the game. And both Fighter Chaos and myself actually go into a very in-depth discussion to tell you what we should expect for this, what's going to be in this remake. But they may not all come to fruition, but hey, at least we can see, you know, paint a possible picture of what all we can expect from this remake that's coming to us. And as far as other updates go, update number 3. After I get the 3rd Final Fantasy Retrospective episode released, I will try to get back on track with getting another review to you all. I still have footage that I captured last year, or this year rather, and I still intend to put it on my YouTube channel for you all to view. Like, I still have footage of Mega Man X4, Mega Man X5, Suikoden 1, and Suikoden 2. I had a lineup of games that I wanted to do, but when the Final Fantasy Retrospective took more priority than anything else, this all happened. So be on the lookout for that probably in February, but I can't guarantee anything, but hopefully that is the direction that I'm going to take. Okay, so now with updates out of the way, let's go ahead and do this part 2 of my Super Famicom collection. Now, of course, I haven't bought any more Super Nintendo games because still they're very expensive, but with Super Famicom games, I've still been collecting a bunch of, what's a good analogy? Like a bunch of ants picking up sugar to carry to their homes. It's like collecting sugar just to bring into their home. It's like every new piece is very different from the other. So you can kind of see that my Super Famicom collection is kind of like that. But anyway, enough talk on that. Let's go ahead and get started. The first 2 games that I said that were the same thing, or the same game, are these: Final Fantasy IV, the original edition, and Final Fantasy IV Easy Type. Final Fantasy IV, this is what we got in North America, called Final Fantasy II. It's definitely one of my favorite entries in the Final Fantasy franchise. Definitely a lot more than Final Fantasy V and some of the newer ones that came out, but I still like to consider this amongst my top 5. Easy Type, it was actually made to make the game a bit easier for those who actually felt that this version was too hard, so it was kind of in the same vein as the version that we got in North America, but it actually had some noticeable differences. Like, you had like double statistics and that kind of stuff. Like, you had a double attack power, double defenses, double magic attack, double magic defenses, that kind of stuff. So this is what the easy version is like. But what more can I say about Final Fantasy IV? It's definitely a really great JRPG. I definitely think it is on par with Final Fantasy VI on the Super Nintendo / Super Famicom. So if you haven't picked this up yet, then I definitely give you a strong recommendation to do so, or pick it up on the Wii Virtual Console in North America. Hopefully it'll come to the Wii U Virtual Console in North America, but it should be on the Wii U Virtual Console in Japan, at least by far, so definitely go give it a pick up. Okay, next up, Kirby Super Deluxe. This is the Super Famicom version of Kirby Superstar. So, yeah, Kirby Superstar, I mean, I did a Let's Play of it on this channel. It's a really phenomenal game. It's definitely my favorite Kirby game of all time, and not a lot I can say about this one, as it's still the same fun Kirby game. I mean, it's all in Japanese, but what more can you expect? Okay, next up. This was actually kind of a surprise to me. Super Fire Pro Wrestling X. The Super Fire Pro Wrestling series is really big in Japan, and it managed to gain some grounds outside of the world, and I know it still has a huge following to this day. And this entry for the Super Fire Pro Wrestling series is no exception. I know a lot of people actually enjoyed the second version of Super Fire Pro Wrestling X that came out, because I think there were some things about it that actually made it more playable or more enjoyable, or could I be thinking of the wrong translation for this game? I'm not sure. But anyway, Super Fire Pro Wrestling X, when it comes to the Super Famicom entries, this is definitely one of the better ones. Really fun, really great wrestling mechanics. Definitely think when it comes to more of the sprite-based wrestling games, then the Super Fire Pro Wrestling games are the ones to go for. I mean, I would even think that they're literally, I would even say that like WWF WrestleMania, the arcade game, is literally on par with the Super Fire Pro Wrestling game. So if you want really good 16-bit wrestling, then this is the one you want to go for. Okay, next up is Mobile Suit Gundam Wing Endless Duel. Mobile Suit Gundam Wing Endless Duel is actually a fighting game, and I know that my good friend Nightwing01, he actually did a review of this game a long time ago, and I tried it myself. Definitely a very interesting fighting game, and it's really good for a late, I think this came out in it was either 94, 95, or 96, but this is definitely one of the sleeper hits for the Super Famicom when it comes to fighting games. I would definitely give you a good recommendation for you to play this if you're really big into fighting games. I mean, it plays a lot like Street Fighter, well, Street Fighter 2 really, but it's still the great type of fighting system that you can expect for games that go into that same vein as Street Fighter 2. So I definitely encourage you guys to try this out. Okay, next up, Super Metroid. Best Super Nintendo / Super Famicom game ever made, no question. It's still the same game as the Super Nintendo one that we got. Very interesting fact is that Super Metroid seems like it was more made for the Western audience in mind and not the Japanese audience, because a lot of the stuff that we actually see in game is still in English text. Like, they want to portray the English text as the base language for Super Metroid. So it's very interesting to know that this game actually has more of a Western taste to it, and rightfully so, as we've seen that with lots of Metroid games seem to have more of a Western flavor. And I know a lot of people like to crap on Other M because of story, because of the story and narrative, and yeah, I can agree to that, but I still say that that game had some Western influence to it, especially when it came to the gameplay. But for Super Metroid itself, still, same great Metroid game that you're going to get out of this. So pick it up if you haven't on Super Nintendo or the Super Famicom, or you can get it on the Wii or Wii U Virtual Console. It's definitely great stuff. Okay, this one is Mario & Wario. Haven't tried this game out yet, but I know it's one of those games that actually uses the SNES mouse and the mouse pad, kind of like what you played from Mario Paint. So I think this was a Japan exclusive, as I don't believe the Western territories got this game, but basically you play as Mario who's going through these puzzle platforming stages while having a bucket on his head, and you have to correctly guide him to where he needs to go in order to get to the end of the stages to move on to the next one. So I think this is pretty much what this game goes for. But I will try it out eventually. I still need to get me an SNES mouse and a mouse pad, as the one that I used to have when I was a kid is gone somewhere and I can't even find it. But I think this game, I think I've heard is actually pretty good, but I can't really judge that with the response, so you have to wait until my first impressions of this game comes sometime in the future. Okay, next up. And this is actually another pretty cool one too. This is Godzilla Kaiju Daikessen. This is actually the Godzilla fighting game on the Super Famicom that was showcased from James Rolfe, the Angry Video Game Nerd, and his review of Godzilla games on his popular internet show. I've tried it myself a little bit. The fighting game mechanics, they're kind of very wonky, but still, I think it plays well as itself for a fighting game when you're playing as, the likes of Godzilla, Mothra, Anguirus, King Ghidorah, Gigan, and all those other characters that you come to know and love from the Showa and Heisei series of Godzilla movies and other stuff. So yeah, this is definitely one of the better Godzilla games in the 16-bit generation, or probably the only good Godzilla game before the likes of Godzilla, Destroy All Monsters, Melee, and all those other ones came in during the 16-bit generation. And I played the 2015 Godzilla game on the PS4. I would say that game, along with this one, are Godzilla fans' wet dreams, as they are very faithful to the original material. But, you know, if you like Godzilla, you'll have to be the judge of that for yourself. So, but when it comes to both those two, I think this is the better outing. So I definitely give you guys a good endorsement to play this. Next up, Mega Man X3. I did Rockman X3, as it's called in the Super Famicom version. It's still the same great game as Mega Man X. I talked about it. I definitely think it is the better sequel when compared to Mega Man X2. I really can't sing any more praise about this game, as I definitely urge you guys to try it out if you haven't. Okay, this is Ganbare Goemon 3. So this is the second sequel to the Legend of the Mystical Ninja series that we got over. That was only available in Japan. As like I said, we only got Legend of the Mystical Ninja in the West, the only first game, but the rest of the sequels remained exclusive in Japan. And this is the second sequel to come to that. It plays very similarly to the last game, but this time around it actually has more mechanics that are in line with The Legend of Zelda: A Link to the Past, and even the side-scrolling elements from before. I tried it out myself, but I think this one you need know a little bit more about Japanese to know where you have to go. But I know, what was I saying? Oh, I think when Metal Jesus Rocks, the YouTube gamer who actually commented about this game saying you don't need to read Japanese, he may be right, but at the same time, since this one actually has more of a you know, Legend of Zelda vibe to it in the gameplay, I think you kind of do need to read Japanese or know exactly what's being said in order to get through some of the game. But again, I could be mistaken, but still, from what I played, it's actually pretty cool. Konami, seriously, what the hell happened to you in this day and age for you being, God, freaking Hitman business or whatever. Anyway, next up is Super Fire Pro Wrestling Special. Now, with Super Fire Pro Wrestling Special, I think this was the entry that Suda51 actually worked on. I know he worked on some games before he became famous with, you know, games in this day and age like No More Heroes and all that other stuff, but Super Fire Pro Wrestling Special, I think this is one of the ones that he worked on in terms of the storyline for this game, which really surprised me about the Super Fire Pro Wrestling games, is that some of them actually have original storylines added to them, so I think that's actually kind of cool, as not a lot of wrestling games in this day and age seem to go for that type of thing. Not even like the WWE games, for that matter. They don't have an original storyline, as they pretty much play the same shtick of you having to go through to try to get title matches and all that stuff. So, but when compared to Super Fire Pro Wrestling X, I definitely think this is the weaker game. So I definitely don't recommend it, but if you're a really hardcore fan of this, then yeah, this is definitely going to be for you. Next up, Rockman 7. So this is Mega Man 7 that we got over here in the West, but of course it came in Japan first. Still the exact same game as Mega Man 7, except it's all in Japanese. I definitely think this is one of the hidden gems of the Mega Man series, as a lot of people tend to enjoy the series in the 8-bit generation, which I think this was actually a pretty good evolution for the series when jumping to 16-bit. I mean, it's sad that we didn't see a lot more of Mega Man in the 16-bit generation, since Mega Man X seems to be more dominating in that field, but still, I think this is a pretty good game for itself, so I definitely say that you guys need to try this out on the Wii U Virtual Console, or see if you can get the Super Famicom version of this game, because the original SNES version of this game, yeah, that's another one of those games that goes for gangbusters, kind of like Mega Man X3. Okay, next up is Ganbare Goemon 4. Now, this game, it follows more the same vein of the second game in terms of its gameplay, but it has more of a mini-game vibe to it. Like, each character, I think they have like 4 or 5 levels that you have to play through in order to get to the last parts of the game, but they're actually pretty challenging. I would say this one has a little bit more of a learning curve than the first 2 games, but probably on par with the third one. But still, I think it's an excellent sequel that you all need to try out for yourselves. So give it a try if you can. Next up, this is another one that I haven't even tried yet, but this is the game that actually that was actually a collaboration of the series, both Ultraman, Gundam, and Kamen Rider. I think it's called The Great Adventure, or The Great Battle, or Great Adventure 2, or whatever it is, because I know there's a Roman numeral 2. So it's one of those games in that series that was done by Ben Presto. From what I gather, this game is actually a beat-em-up, which I'm all for. I mean, I really do like arcade-style beat-em-ups, and you know how much I love the Ninja Turtles games that were on the NES and SNES at the time. But this one, I'm kind of intrigued to try it out. I've heard some really good things about it, so maybe this is one that I'll try out for you all very soon. And last but not least, probably the granddaddy of them all when it comes to my most recent pickups in the Super Famicom collection, Mother 2. In case if you don't know what Mother 2 is, I'll give you a little hint. It's Earthbound. Yes, Earthbound, or Mother 2. One of the greatest RPGs ever made, and I definitely think it's high up there in the top 5 best SNES Super Famicom RPGs of all time. I mean, this game, it innovated a lot of things for modern society. Like, it innovated, more use of a modern setting in the premise, as well as having little kids being the protagonists. And I think South Park was pretty much it drew inspiration from Earthbound to actually bring the premise of its show being, about the 4 kids, Stan, Kyle, Cartman, and Kenny. But still, Mother 2, or Earthbound in general, this game, even though I have not played it as a kid, and even though I did beat it once as of recent, this is definitely one of my most prized possessions right here, and I definitely urge you guys to try this out, either in this version or in the version that's on the Wii U Virtual Console at this point. And if you do plan on picking up the original cartridge, definitely get the Super Famicom version, because that is more cheaper, since the one in North America is actually more limited on its print run, and they like to go for ridiculous high amounts of money. So yeah, you could say that Earthbound is pretty much the holy grail of the Super Nintendo, while this is pretty much amongst the diamonds in the rough that is pretty cheap to get nowadays. So yeah, definitely give this a good pickup if you can. Anyway, guys, that's all with my collection and updates for the Super Famicom games that I have, as well as the projects I'm working on. So I just want to tell you all, have a happy holidays, Merry Christmas, and a Happy New Year. I hope you still enjoy my content, so be on the lookout for more content coming from me in the future that you won't find anywhere else, and be sure to stay glued on the Game Riffers channel as we do more Game Riffers Let's Plays, as well as Riff Table Arcades with what all is going on in the gaming world. So anyway, guys, take care of yourselves. Again, have a happy holidays, and I'll see you in 2016. Laters.